Hello, I'm Tim Durham with Durham's Bee Farm. On July the 10th, I will post a video that pertains only to this t-shirt, Walls Bee Man on YouTube. I come down here to do a follow-up on these three hives, specifically these three hives. And in my truck is some brood chambers. I hope that this video is not show and pomp, that it's the naked truth. I messed up with these three brood chambers. I checked them late winter, early spring, and when I put them back together, I forgot to put pear moth on them to keep out the waxworms, and so the moths got in them. So it's yet to be seen what damage was done. I've already smoked them properly. I use pine needles. Everything considered, I think pine needles is the best. Cardboard, the smoke will burn your eyes. But now, if y'all remember the last video I did, whoop, there's a cockroach. He's dead now. All right. If y'all remember if you watched my previous video, man, I had questions about these hives. And so, oh, thank you, Lord. This is this is a swarm that 2 videos back, can you see that? That's on the inner cover. Woo, I love them. I love honeybees. I love honeybees. Well, not as much as I love my wife, but you know what I mean. Now down here in the south, people ask me, said, your accent, you know, people from England, Australia, Poland, they say something about, and people in the United States, they say something about my accent. And I love it. I mean, well, what I love is them women up north, especially those Italian women. Woo, they love my accent. And of course I love that. And down here in the south, we say, bless your heart. And that has a special meaning. Now this is a strong hive, this is a swarm. Now I'm going to get one of these brood chambers and put on there. This is a brood chamber that I put pear moth on last fall, and I can smell fermentation in it. That's all right. They'll clean that up. And mercy, I don't know where to go next. I have smoked these previously. I'm going to smoke them again. You want thick white smoke. And pine needles will give you thick, dark smoke. I'm looking for my hive tool right now. Mercy. Where did my hive tool go? If I had a dozen hive tools, I couldn't find one of them. All right. Now. All right. Do you, this burr comb, do you see that white comb? That means honey flow's coming in. But now this hive here, I thought surely it was queenless. I really did. Now, I'm going to try to check for eggs in the center frames. Eggs and larvae. I've got to believe, they're looking so good, I have to believe they have a queen in here. All right. There's cap. Ooh, one just got me on the arm. There's cap brood. That kind of smarted. There's cap brood and eggs and larvae. So I'm doing a rush job on this. Now, usually I have a 9-frame spacer that I left at home. I didn't bring it. And for decades, they would tell you to push the frames together and then divide your space on the outer frames, like here and here. But that was bogus. That was wrong. You should divide your frames equally, the 10 frames, throughout the brood chamber. I hope that you know what I'm saying. Now, I'm gonna put this brood chamber on here, and it's bad. It really is with wax worms. I'm gonna let them clean them up the best they can, and then come back and check them and see what the status is. I hope you're with me. All right, this third hive is a strong hive. Now, this honey super is I've got round comb frames in it. You have to take a shallow super and adapt it to the round comb. You have to do a little work on it. So I'm going to take it off and put it aside, and I'm not going to check it for eggs and brood because it looks pretty good, pretty strong. So I'm going to put a brood chamber on top of that. Now, all right. This is one of the brood chambers that the moths got into badly, and I just messed up. What can I say? All right. I'm going to have to come back and check these in 2 or 3 weeks and see how they're doing because of those wax worms. Wax worms do not kill hives. You will hear people, you will hear some people that have hives. You will hear them say that wax worms kill my hives. Wax worms do not kill your hives. Wax worms move into a hive after some other reason killed the bees. So, now after I get through with this third hive, I've got a notepad of several subjects that beekeepers ask, and I'm going to answer those questions. Moths do not kill beehives. Moths do not kill bees. after the bees have died from various reasons, then the moths will move in. Rotate bad frames. If you go into a hive, and if you think the frame is bad, then it probably is. And you need to take it out, and maybe 10% of your frames every year. You need to take out the worst frames and put frames of foundation back in there. If you go into your hive this time of the year and you do not see eggs or larvae, do not get alarmed. When the honey flow, when there is a dearth on, that is to say, there is not sufficient blooms blooming for the bees, then the queen may very well stop laying. So don't get alarmed. I like screen bottom boards. Do not put in that plastic sheet underneath it and leave it in there. I wouldn't put it in at all. If you put that plastic sheet in, corrugated sheet under the screen bottom board, it will trap trash, and that will be a problem. Your moths can lay in it. I made me a list here. If I didn't make me a list to mention to you, I'd forget it. Fat combs, the spacing of combs, brood chamber or comb honey. If you go into your brood chamber and you failed to space your frames properly, then the bees, and you've got them too far apart, then the bees will draw the comb honey out a good bit, too far. And so now they will not draw out the comb cells. I'm sorry, they will not draw out the cells where they're raising brood. But the comb honey that's across the top, they will draw it out too far. Take you a long, slender knife that's variegated, I think that's the right word, and once you get the frames out, then that comb honey across the top, cut it off with this knife, and you can salvage that comb honey. All right, hive beetles. Right now, I think the very best way to handle hive beetles is with a hive beetle buster. I think that's what they call it. Get the temporary, do not get the permanent. Get the temporary, it will last one season, and right now I think that's the best way to go. When you send me a question, please let me know where you're located. It will make a big difference in my answer. We're in Mississippi, and people say something about my accent. Well, let me tell you, I love my accent, because the reason I love my accent, because them women up north, oh my, do they love it. Especially those Italian women in New York. I mean, they love it. So what can I say? When you bottle honey, don't let it just fall down straight down into the bottom of the jar. That will create bubbles. Let it hit the side of the jar and flow down the side of the jar. When you rob your honey, if you see some fermented cells, that is to say, if you see some cappings that look like they have air bubbles underneath them, then that is fermented honey. That can come from cotton blooms. Very seldom, but it can. Don't wear white socks. I'm sorry, I misspoke. When you go out to check your bees, don't wear black. Now, I have black shorts on right now. But for some reason, do not wear white socks. White socks. If you wear black socks and the bees are in a bad mood, you know, like when your wife's in a bad mood, you know what I mean? If you wear black socks for some reason, they'll hit your socks, your ankles, big time. For some reason, if they're in a bad mood, they'll go after your face and your ankles. All right. Bees are different. Beehives, you may have a few, 2 or 3 beehives or more, and the colonies are different. They will build comb differently. Several things. Some beehives will collect more propolis than other beehives. Bees, I have said this over and over again, bees are so much like people. They're different. There can be 3 children in the same family by the same mom and daddy, and they'll be so different it isn't funny. Bees are the same way. So just because you ordered 3 queens from John Doe in California, that doesn't mean the queens are going to be alike. They're not, necessarily. So, if you have any questions, let me know. It's a great pleasure to know that I've helped somebody. It really is. I think that's a great pleasure for anybody. So, let me know where you're located. I kind of find that interesting. What country, what state, and if you have a question, so far the good Lord has let me answer all of them. I might be 2 or 3 days late or whatever. So if you have any questions, let me know, and it'll be my pleasure to help you. Y'all have a good day. And this Tim Durham, Durham's Bee Farm in Walls, Mississippi. Bye. You know, the last I heard, and I always knew that was told that the sex change on a bull made him a steer and not a heifer. Now think about that. Years ago, you know, boys will they'll get in trouble. They'll pull tricks. Well, when we was coming up, we had an outhouse close to the creek. And, man, I hated that outhouse. It was hot in the summertime, cold in the winter, and stank, oh, mercy. It was bad. And I heard about folks pushing them over, and it was right by the creek, and so I always had an idea about pushing that outhouse in the creek. Well, come big rain, the creek was up. So I got me a stick, pushed that outhouse over in the creek. I always wanted to do that. And of course I didn't let on. Well, that night at supper, now down here in the South we say supper, we don't say dinner. That night at supper, Daddy real calmly said, "Son," said, "after supper we're going to go to the woodshed." Well, I knew what that meant. I was going to get a good licking. And I said, "Well, Daddy, do you mind if I ask why?" "Well, son, did you push the outhouse into the creek?" I said, yes, sir, I did. Well, that's why we're going to the woodshed. And I done forgot his name. Hold on a minute. Abraham Lincoln? George Washington.
Yeah, he's got another cherry tree.
George Washington? George Washington, wasn't he? Washington, yeah. All right. So, I'm 76. I just had a temporary slip of the memory here. But I said, Daddy, George Washington cut down a cherry tree, but he told the truth, so he didn't get a licking. And Daddy said, yeah, but George Washington, he said, George Washington's daddy wasn't in the cherry tree. Oh my, boys will be boys. Y'all have a good day. Bye. Hello, I'm Tim Durham with Durham's Bee Farm. On July the 10th, I will post a video that pertains only to this t-shirt, Walls Bee Man on YouTube.